All right, welcome in, folks. I'm Jake Ellenbogen coming to you live after the Rams lost their finale to Seattle, 30-25, falling to 10-7, and of course, falling to the 4 seed. So this could have some serious implications. Obviously, it's going to depend on who comes out of tonight's matchup. A winner, they get the first round bye between the Lions and the Vikings. The loser will play the Rams in LA. So interesting stuff here. However, I do have to say, this was a fun game. This is probably one of the more exciting games down the second half of the season that we've seen. We've had a lot of really fun endings to games. Like the Arizona game was really exciting at the end, but that was not necessarily a fun game all the way through like this one was. Thought you saw some really good things out of some young players that don't really get a lot of opportunities. We're going to dive into it. Before we do, just want to let you guys know that you can follow me on all social media at JK Bogan at any point if you like me and you enjoy what I'm saying, including the Bleach Report app at JK Bogan. You can check out my YouTube channel, Jake Ellenbogen. Special shout out to Bleach Report as always for having me for the post game. Let's talk about Jimmy Garoppolo. How good was Jimmy Garoppolo today? I know he had the interception. He definitely wants back, but I thought he played a great brand of football today. Really, I thought thrived in that play action passing attack. But in addition to that, I thought you saw just some confidence here. Garoppolo, keep in mind, did not play in preseason, did not play any games this year, was thrown into week 18. Now, obviously, he wasn't thrown into the fire. He knew he was going to start, had the preparation as the starter throughout the week. But this was impressive. This was really good stuff. And I think he's playing his way into, with this game. And hopefully this is the only time we see him, because that would mean bad things for Stafford if we didn't. I think the big thing here with Garoppolo to take away is that he might have played himself into a backup role next year and maybe moving forward and maybe even a bridge opportunity for the Rams. This is a really good performance, 334 yards passing, dealing with kind of, a revolving door at wide receiver. I mean, whether it was Demarcus Robinson or Xavier Smith or Tutu Atwell or Jordan Whittington or Tyler Johnson, he was throwing all different types of guys. And, I thought that was, I thought that was a really, really good performance by him. I understand some people don't want to hear moral victories, but I thought he played very well. Definitely deserves some praise and some credit. Ronnie Rivers. Now, let's talk about something here. Blake Corum suffered an injury, and I don't want to speculate, but it didn't look good. He was in a cast on the sideline, mouthing words, and you saw the players coming up to him. It didn't look good. So expect Blake Corum in all likelihood to not play next week, and he could be done for the year. And if that's the case, I was really impressed with what we got out of Ronnie Rivers. I thought in pass protection, he looked really good, really stout coming up and, picking up the blitz. And then in addition to that, just his job in the receiving game, as well as just as a runner. You have to keep in mind, this is not the same offensive line those five starters that have been really just like dominating up front. They've had a really good run blocking offensive line, but today it was a little bit different. Only Steve Avila from the notable starters was playing. They even gave Bo Limmer the day off, gave Dylan McMahon a shot at center. You had Joseph Noteboom playing left tackle. You had Warren McClendon Jr. playing right tackle. So there were definitely some different things that we saw here, out of this offensive line. And I thought you saw really good things out of Rivers, just decisive, making cuts. Surprising, it only ended up being 12 carries for 48 yards. I felt like he had a lot more yards than that. But obviously, I think that's because of, the other 34 yards he added on 4 catches out of the passing game. And, I think this is in a way, and I don't mean this to be offensive, but I think in a way this could be a blessing in disguise to get Rivers these opportunities. I think he's a better running back than Blake Corum at this point in his career. Now, Ronnie Rivers doesn't have the ceiling that Corum does. Corum has a long way to go, and I think he's already really good. But Rivers, what he offers in pass protection, if he has to be the backup, I trust him to be the backup in the preseason, or in the postseason, excuse me. I think he's a good player. We saw him week 1. We didn't see him after that. I think there was a push, knowing you spent a 3rd-round pick on Blake Corum, you had to play him. But I was impressed with what we saw out of Ronnie Rivers. In addition to that, I was impressed with the job Mike LaFleur did calling these plays. They were really, really good in the second half. He had his bumps and bruises in the first 2, offensive possessions. That's to be expected. But I thought, McVay, first off, want to give him credit, calling a timeout. They were going to line up, punt it on 4th and 1. And McVay said, no. We're gonna go for it. And he let, Mike LaFleur go and do that. And, I was impressed because I think that was really a key moment in this game where Mike LaFleur gets that confidence instilled by him, by Sean McVay, instilled in him by Sean McVay. And I think he really fed off that. I think you saw just a really more, like a lot more confidence in the play calling. And sometimes it was simple, but you know what? Sometimes simple is all you need. And a lot of, wide receiver screens, I think, got Jimmy Garoppolo going. And then all of a sudden he was in a good spot. And then you get that touchdown to Tyler Higbee. You get the touchdown to Tyler Johnson. Just really impressed and thought this was a really fun way to cap the season. Obviously, you would have loved to win this game and get that 3rd seed, but in actuality, I never really expected them to win this game, and I still thought they played a lot better than I expected. Jordan Whittington, how about him, right? He didn't get used a ton, only 4 targets, caught 3 of them for 86 yards. This is clearly a really good receiver that has just not gotten the reps he probably needs. I do wonder if they're going to utilize him more in the postseason. I believe they are. Demarcus Robinson, after going 4 straight games without a catch, caught 3 of his 6 targets for 72 yards, including a huge 31-yard grab. I like that they tested early on, in the game. They're like, okay, let's see if we have this. And Demarcus Robinson has just given Seattle fits this year, so they went with him again, and it worked. I like that they got Atwell involved a little bit. You can't go too crazy with Atwell, although he did have 8 targets in this one. I think Atwell's still going to be a part of the game plan in the postseason. So I like, getting him acclimated, but also not too much. Tyler Johnson, I thought, had some good moments, some good blocking, and then, of course, the touchdown like he had last week 18. And yeah, I just really like the way Garoppolo spread the ball out. I mean, there's, how many? You got 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 different targets. You got even Cody Schrader involved here. So really good stuff. My biggest takeaway is not necessarily Garoppolo, not necessarily Ronnie Rivers or Jordan Whittington. It is Joshua Carty, who went 4 for 4 and hit a 58-yarder and I believe a 56-yarder. He hit 2 50-plus yarders. And, I think the big thing with Carty is from the left hash, he's really struggled this year. Those have been his misses, but he drilled his longest of the year from the left hash. If you take anything away from this game, take away the fact that the Rams might have just gotten Josh Carty in this zone that I don't think he's going to miss. Like he looked locked in today. And I think a lot of the time is when you look at kickers, yes, streakiness is real. But I think what's so real is the mental aspect of it. And getting Carty right here was the good move here by the Rams. And now they feel really good because you're only as good as your kicker when it comes to the postseason. We've seen a kicker you live in and die by, obviously 58-yarder against the New Orleans Saints to send the Rams to the Super Bowl. Greg Zuerlein, Matt Gay hit a game winner against Tampa. He hit the go-ahead field goal essentially against the 49ers. Field goal kickers matter, especially in the postseason. They matter more. So to have a rookie feeling really good right now, that's a good sign. Jordan Whittington looks like an absolute weapon in the return game. That's a good sign. Unfortunately, Corum had a forearm injury from the return. Really kind of a quirky return as well. Like that they got Xavier Smith some reps. Really on the defense, I understand they gave up 30 today, but I thought it was inspiring football. Fisk and, of course, Byron Young had the half sack in the first half. Desjuan Johnson came out reckless abandon. You could see he's been waiting for his opportunity, and I thought you saw some great things. The sack, the bench press of the offensive lineman, getting some pressures, the tackle for a loss, just the tackles downfield. This guy is a football player, does not get a ton of opportunity, but I thought you saw some really good things out of him. How about Emmanuel Forbes? Okay, I know people are going to pick on him and, tackling and just being a really thin frame and everything. But Emmanuel Forbes is somebody that, he hasn't really played in a while, and he's not really played on defense. And he went stride for stride with DK Metcalf on a huge play there. Incomplete pass. Of course, he didn't break it up, but he was right there and forced the incompletion. And then he had a pass breakup in this one, which was huge. And that was the thing. I thought getting those guys acclimated, getting those guys ready, you never know what's going to come up in the postseason. You never know if injuries are going to happen. We saw Corum happen. The good news is that they got Rivers going after he's been on the pine since week 1. So I like that Rivers got going. I like that they're getting guys acclimated like a Forbes, like a Desjuan Johnson, Josh Wallace playing in this one, Tyler Davis getting more reps, Keir Thomas. I thought, it was really good learning experience for Keir Thomas, because when you looked at it, Keir Thomas, first time, Geno Smith runs for 20 because Thomas doesn't set the edge. He actually takes a false step inside. And of course, Geno takes off and runs for a first down. But Keir Thomas then later on in the game, in that same kind of opportunity, he then does set the edge and forces a tackle for a loss. So I thought you saw some good things out of him. Kobe Durant had 2 pass breakups. Kello had a pass breakup. Have to point out, was a little bummed. Kello, really nice coverage on DK. Thinks the quarterback goes down. Thinks Geno Smith got sacked. Stops playing, because you always have to play until you hear the whistle. And unfortunately, he gives up the touchdown on that one. Wasn't really burned, just kind of stopped playing because he thought the play was over. You got to keep playing, of course, until you hear that whistle, and sometimes even through it. And then Brennan Jackson had one of the best reps I saw of the day, and he also had a batted pass. Brennan Jackson bench pressed the tackle and had a really, really nice rep one-on-one. And it kind of showed you that potential he has if, God forbid, they do lose somebody in the postseason. They lose one of their edge defenders. He could fill in, or even just more long-term, if they don't bring back Michael Hoyt, they have to feel good about the way Brennan Jackson played at moments in this one. You can definitely see the potential is there. A lot of good play. I understand, the score it may not be what you want it to be. I know some people do want to play the Lions. The Lions might also win tonight. So you'd be playing the Vikings, you already beat. And normally you don't want to play the team that you beat earlier in the year. But anyway, the way I see it is this. If you were expecting the Rams to come in there and beat a Seattle team that is playing to win and is starting all their players with, kind of this rotational starter defense and really all backups on the offense, I don't really know what to tell you. The fact that the Rams kept it as close as they did and they actually dominated Seattle in the second half tells me that the Rams were clearly the better team. I know Seattle fans are upset. They are going to end up with the same record as the Rams here at 10-7. The reality is the Rams played a tougher schedule. They had a better strength of victory. They did more. They beat playoff teams. Seattle only beat one playoff team in the Denver Broncos. The Rams, of course, beat the Buffalo Bills and the Vikings. They lost close games. They didn't get blown out like Seattle did. They lost close games to the Packers. They lost close games to the Lions. So yeah, I think the Rams are clearly the better team. I think today showed that. I think Garoppolo played himself into potentially a spot starter role next year on another team, but he could also stick around and maybe try to play the waiting game and maybe take over for Stafford. Maybe not, and probably not, but we'll see. Either way, I think there's plenty to feel good about in this one. The Rams were going to play a tough team regardless. If they had the 6th seed, or went up against the 6th seed, or went up against the 4th seed or the 5th seed. Regardless of that, they were going to play a tough team either way. I'm definitely looking forward to who they play. I think it'll be the Lions, but of course we have to see the game played before we actually say anything. But yeah, that's going to do it. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Again, Rams fall 30-25. But here's the deal. Seattle, this is it for their season. Good for them. Their young coach, McDonald, gets his 10th win. Huge, huge. But the Rams get to play next week in SoFi, and that's an even bigger deal. So that's going to do it for me. Hope you guys enjoyed. Be sure to follow me on all social media at JK Bogan, and check me out on YouTube, of course. My YouTube channel is Jake Ellenbogen. So enjoy the game tonight. It's going to be a good one. Vikings, Lions. We'll see how things go. And also, if you want to check out my other stream over on my YouTube channel, Jake Ellenbogen, you can do that. Again, thank you guys so much, and I'll see you guys soon. Later, folks.